I have lost over five close friends or people that I knew in my hometown due to them making the wrong decision and saying no, and they passed away due to drug overdose because they were addicted. On drugoverdoseday.com, a statistic says that drug overdose was responsible for 41,340 deaths in the U.S. in 2011. Some people argue that once someone is addicted to a drug and they are at risk, that they can just simply say no and they can stop, and it's not that easy. I'm here to tell you that drug addiction is a disease. It's a brain disease that infects your body and tells yourself to make the wrong decision, and you are incapable of making the right one and saying no. So, in elementary school, do y'all remember learning about DARE? It stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education. We've been taught about drugs and what they can do to your body since we were in elementary school, and there's still people that are dying and making wrong decisions, and it's because of what these drugs can actually do to us. They weren't lying when they taught us that. That's what it does. It does that to you. So the problem is that people who think that see that people are addicted think that they can just say no and that they have a decision and they can help themselves, and that's not what it is. It's a disease, and I'm here to help you realize that there's so many more solutions than just saying no. So now that I've told you what the problem is and you have an idea of what I'm talking about today, let me go into detail about what the problem is. Drug addiction is overlooked and very misunderstood. On drugabuse.gov, it states addiction is a chronic, often relapsing brain disease that causes compulsive drug seeking and use despite the harmful consequences to the addicted individual and to those around him or her. More need to understand this definition because when things like this happen and it's on the news and people don't feel bad for the families that have lost loved ones to this disease, it's hurtful, and it shouldn't be said like that. Instead of blaming the police or the parents and say that the parents didn't raise them the right way, or even just school board, blame yourself for not taking action. Blame yourself for when you saw that person and you knew that they were in desperate need, that you had no pity for them and you thought that they would just face the consequences. The severity of this is overlooked. For example, heroin is a drug that I know a lot about because that is what I'm from a small town, and we're overlooked, and people think, oh, they're just a small town. There can't be that type of lethal drug in it, and they're wrong. It's very present for the past couple of years. It has been. Another fact on drugabuse.gov states that in 2011, 4.2 million Americans aged 12 or older had used heroin at least once in their lives. It's estimated that 23% of individuals who use heroin become dependent on it. You know what it's like depending on something and you feel like you need it to go throughout the day, whether it's medicine that keeps you going for an actual disease that you have, or you just need food. You depend on food to keep you going throughout the day. That's what these people depend on. They depend on their drugs once they say yes. So now that you know the problem, let me explain some solutions to this. Some treatment for drug addicts need to be changed. On antidrugs.8k.com, it says private hospital programs are now a $4 billion a year dollar business with a daily cost of as much as $50 per bed per day. It needs to be changed in cost and coverage because obviously with the amount of deaths in America, the addicts don't have the insurances to cover or pick up this cost. There needs to be more happening, or a payment plan to be happening. One that I think would really, really work is intervention, and I have seen it work. It's for people who can't admit that they have a problem, and the family steps in and sends them to intervention. On solutiontoaddiction.com, it says the family must realize that the person they love is not himself anymore. They can't help themselves, and they can't admit that they have a problem and they need help. So these solutions will help these people. This is what we need to be looking into when we see someone with this disease. So now that you know that, let me explain the benefits of these solutions. We've all lost some close loved ones, and we've mourned over it for a long time, I'm sure. And think about those ones that have lost their sons or their even wives or kids, young kids in high school, some in middle school. They've lost them to drugs. That's something that you don't want to go around and say, my kid passed away because he had a disease addicted to drugs. I personally know that it will help so many people across America. You're saving a life when you seek help and take the extra step to help this person in need. It is a disease, people. It's not something you can just say no to until you actually experience it. And I have, for example, in conclusion, I have a friend that I have grown up with, and ironically, I'm talking about this, and unfortunately, she has been placed in jail yesterday morning. Her bail is set at $100,000 because she was caught selling heroin to 2 teenagers in my high school. These kids have been educated, and there's so much going on in my small town with heroin that she has been caught. I'm not hurting anybody, I'm only hurting myself, is quoted on drugaddictionsupport.org by what an addict might say. So please take the time and realize that they don't know they're hurting their loved ones. They don't know that. They think they're just doing it for themselves and hurting themselves. So take the extra step and help the ones in need. It's not as easy as just saying no. Thank you. Oh, here are my note cards.